Hey, how you doing? This is John, crazy hair and all, and how you doing? This is John's Long Box. Welcome to Sunday Comics. How's everybody doing? Sorry that Friday I canceled it's clobbering time. I forgot that it was Friday the July the 4th. And July the 4th I just like to go and hang out in my neighborhood. Everybody has fireworks going and everything. It was funny because it was Friday night, and this out of the 4 years, the Fourth of July's that I've been in this house, this was like the least eventful. But fireworks everywhere, but there wasn't as many kids in the street. We found out that the main firework house, their grandmother is on their deathbed, so they were away for the weekend. So there's like a million kids in that house, and they had family over, so that was a lot of the foot traffic was gone. But I did get to meet the old timers across the street. That was really cool. I was an old 80-year-old Sicilian, Antonio and Dota, and it was just nice to talk to them. It sounded like my grandfather, so it brought back some nice memories. Barber for 40 years, and he told me all the guy who lived in my house, and he was the original owner of the house. I'm the second owner of this house, and just the lore and mythology of my neighborhood. It was cool. The troublemaker houses and everything. I love all that stuff. I love history, and I love even like the small history of a neighborhood. So that's what I did Friday night. So next Friday will be Azrael versus what do we do? Moon Knight. Azrael versus Moon Knight. So that should be fun. So also, I did an impromptu spur of the moment video yesterday because I didn't know I was getting a box of cookies from Mabel Bakes. Mabel being Brittany Mosicki, Ron Mosicki's wife. Ron, you may know as the artist on the suit in Heroic Tales #1, and he will also be drawing a Raven story, Raven versus Curtains, at some point in the future. And it's funny, every time I sit down to actually write that story, I get something else. So I got good news. I'm going to keep it kind of hush hush, but I got contacted by somebody with a comic in the stores, and they want me to submit a 12-page story of Mary Sue and their character. So what they're doing is they're going to make an annual, and it's going to be 12-page stories of. I can tell you this: one of the stories is Mr. A. So my character Mary Sue is going to be in the first Mr. A appearance in like 40 years, and then another bigwig that I'm crossing my fingers. So I got to keep it exactly 12 pages. I submitted a story outline of what I think is going to happen. It's funny because the original story was Mary Sue doing everything good and his character just doing nothing important, just being a damsel in distress. So I was like, nah, that's not. So we worked it. I reworked it and got approved. So I'll be working on that today. So anyway, so I want to finish the Patriarch #1, then work on this because that actually has a deadline. So this is my first deadline, other than a self-imposed deadline. So how's everybody going? How's everybody going? Let's check out the chat. First, as normal, Heroic Tales #1 is chugging along. We just broke. Uh, Heroic Tales 2 made 300 backers, exactly 300 backers. So we just made 151. So we crossed over the 50% mark. I'd like to, more importantly, I'd like to get to 6,000 because that's going to fund the next issue. So we were just under 5,000. We got 22 days left. Spread the word. Surfer Bird. Ben Sabar. Good morning, John Chat. This issue started at all. Yep. This is the first appearance of the new X-Men in the regular monthly series. The first real appearance was Giant Size X-Men #1. Issue 93 was reprints of the old X-Men. Good morning, everyone. I'm actually off on a Sunday. Oh, cool. What Geeks News here is actually here with us. I'll be here for a bit. It's my wife's birthday. We're going to brunch. Oh, good for your wife. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. That's nice. Hey, Matt's here. Matt, I know you were looking forward to it's clobbering time. I'm sorry. I just forgot that it was the 4th of July. And I just really look forward to hanging out with everybody in the neighborhood. It's just nice, to hang out with real people. You know what I mean? Non-internet people, you know what I mean? Just people in person. These people don't even know that I do YouTube or comic books or anything like that. We were talking about just the neighborhood and you know, restaurants, and it was just nice. It was just nice. We'll be back next Sunday. Everybody's saying hello to each other. I love that. Oh, there we go. I'm getting my Sunday blessing. I can't believe it's Sunday already. This was the quickest weekend ever. This was, hey, Jimmy's here. Hey, Jimmy. Oh, cool. So you heard what I was talking about. Jimmy is one of my player characters. Jimmy and I've been playing Villains Vigilantes since 1982, 83 together. Matter of fact, he made up the character, the suit, Lucius Kane. So, and Jimmy, don't worry. Another one of your characters is going to be in Patriarch #1. I'm working in a subtle, not a subtle. It's over the not over the top, but just a normal introduction to your favorite. Not I don't know. Maybe it is your favorite character. Very nice. So everybody's saying hello. Very nice, Eric the Guapo. And all right. So normally I filibuster for a couple of minutes, but we got a lot of people here. So, and Marcus is going to go take his wife to brunch. So first, let's all raise your cup of coffee. Oh yeah, that's good. That's good. So here it is, X-Men 94. This is in excellent condition, except for this little crinkle in the corner that I keep trying to rub out. Now, does anybody know about like ironing your comics and stuff like that? Has anybody done it? I am really, really trepidatious about doing it. I would like to do it. Pete Samedi has a video on how to do it. They say that you could, not that I'm looking to restore like CGC stuff, but it would be nice to get wrinkles out of comics and things like that. I mean, I do want my comics in the best possible condition, and when I retire, it's probably going to be my job of just of like selling my collection. I don't have kids. What am I going to do? I'm going to die, and then my nieces and nephews that I haven't seen in 30 years are going to come and just liquidate everything. Right. So now here it is. Impossible, but not for the super bodybuilding system. Be better than the best. Be dynamic. I can't stress that enough, ladies and gentlemen. If you got to be better than the best. Let's just face it. Everybody else is the best. You got to be dynamic. Okay. When everybody's the best, dynamic wins. So now we know that. It's a mathematical equation. Best, dynamic. All right. So the Doomsmith scenario. This is Chris Claremont writer. So look at this. Chris Claremont was in from the get-go. I didn't realize he was there that soon. So we got Chris Claremont writer, Len Wein plotter, editor. Dave Cockrum is still the artist, and Bob McLeod is the inker. Man, I'll talk about that in a minute. Phil Rachelson colorist, and Tom unpronounceable as the letterer. So going forward, I'll check out the page, comments, page, comments, page, comments. So look at this nice splash page. So just imagine you're a kid and what's going on? The X-Men were this before, and now they're a completely different team. But look at this art. We got Dave Cockrum over here, and this Bob McLeod is the inker. But I just wonder, is he meaning Dave Cockrum, is he trying to make it look as much like Neal Adams as possible? Because to me, I see a Neal Adams influence, and then when I see a Neal Adams influence, I didn't realize at the time because I Neal Adams was a little bit before my time. So I think Neal Adams was doing DC, when I first started getting into comics. So I didn't know who Neal Adams was. I was just a John Byrne freak. And apparently John Byrne, I noticed in the letters pages, everybody was calling John Byrne a Neal Adams clone. And I was like, he ain't a Neal Adams clone, even though I didn't know who Neal Adams was because I was loyal to John Byrne. But I'm looking at this, and I can see a Neal Adams influence. I can see John Byrne's influence, and I can see Neal, and it's Dave Cockrum. So just I don't know. I really, really like it. Is there any wonder? I'm so in love with the guys I'm in love with: Byrne, Perez, Neal Adams. Just Dave Cockrum. Look at this. Now look, we got Colossus over here, Cyclops, Nightcrawler, Javier, Xavier, however you want to pronounce it. Last week I was getting taken to town, but I say Xavier. We got Marvel Girl. Marvel Girl. It's one of my pet peeves when you have a superhero name and they call you by your secret edit. Like, you don't point to Batman and go Bruce Wayne. You don't point to Superman and go Clark Kent. So that's Marvel Girl, Havoc, Angel, Wolverine, and Storm. Who's missing? The Beast. Why is the Beast missing? Because he's already on the Avengers. I don't know what they decided, but when the X-Men went into reprints, they put the Beast on the Avengers right away, and all the other X-Men kind of wallowed in limbo. So, and they addressed that here, that the Beast is already on the Avengers in a really poorly drawn panel. Okay, so let's check out the comments. We got Phantom Outsider. The new X-Men cannot have a successful landing continues. Yep. I've seen it done on X. Oh, you're talking about pressing the comics. Okay. My local comic store presses comics. The wrinkles do get ironed out, but it's risky if you do not know how to do it properly because it involves. Yeah. I'll practice with my Kickers Incorporated. But I ain't practicing with the X-Men 94. Pressing the book seems extremely complicated, more an art than a science. I know. From the comic who loves comics. What is that? Is that how to press comics? If you put that in the comments section, because I'll never see it again in the chat. It's an odd scene because who goes, let's get in the hollow. Hey, you got 3 on the set. Yeah, I know. It is. What? Also, Banshee and Thunderbird are not there. Yeah, that's true. I didn't even realize that. I was focused on the Beast not being there. And now maybe they just couldn't fit them because there's Sunfire, there's Thunderbird, and there's Banshee. So they're all there. They just couldn't fit in the they couldn't fit in the panel. Jeez, Edith, I can't seem to be speaking today. As an aside, my wife and I, we last night was just lazy. Yesterday was just like the laziest day. I did absolutely nothing, and it was glorious. I slept late, and late to me is like 8 o'clock, and then we ended up going to the diner around 10 o'clock at night last night, and we sat there till almost 1 in the morning just talking. It's one of the things when my wife and I go out to dinner, I take my phone and I put it upside down. I don't want to be those couples that just sit there ignoring each other, sitting on the phone. So, I check my messages because I'm obsessed, because I'm a crazy person about my phone. Check Twitter. Then I put the phone down, and we sat and we talked for 3 hours. It's funny. I realized I'd never told my wife about my craziest girlfriend. So she was just laughing at me, rolling her eyes. I told my wife the saga of Paula. And then we looked her up on the internet, found out she moved from France back to Germany. She moved to New Jersey. So no, I think that's why the weather is crazy in America these days. She's out of Europe, back to New Jersey. So my wife was laughing at that. She's like, you. She goes, what's that say about me? All my crazy ex-girlfriends. But anyway, we talked, and one of the things we talked about was like long-term sitcom stories, like Parks and Recreation. Okay, Parks and Recreation had like a long character arc. Characters developed, they changed, they got married, they had kids, they moved on from jobs, as opposed to like Seinfeld, where every episode is the same. Like, you can watch Seinfeld in any order, and what do we like better? So like episodic, is that called episodic versus long-term character arcs? And we were talking about that. I was talking about like how DC Comics was each issue was its own thing. Didn't matter. You could read them in any order. And then, Marvel had long-term character arcs and everything like that. It was a really cool conversation. We were talking about how, like, Corner Gas, if you ever watch that show, me and my wife love Corner Gas. You could watch Corner Gas, any episode of any season in any order, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's no character development. Each episode is independent of the next. Same with Seinfeld, the Odd Couple, Brady Bunch. And then we were talking about like Parks and Recreation is a perfect example of characters developing, aging, changing. Community, shows like that. So I don't know. So we were talking, and of course, because I'm a crazy person, we talk about how Marvel had the illusion of change. It seemed to be going forward, but not really. And then DC, every comic was first day out of the egg. Just talking about nothing. So let's check out the comments, and then I'll get back to the comic. Stippling Vaughn, experimenting on New Universe Comics. Bless me. At least I'm not using DP7. At least I'm not using. I do have some sort of a. I mean, can we agree that Kickers Incorporated and Spitfire were the two worst of the New Universe? Can that we agree on? Sunfire was mad because Wolverine was hogging the stairs. Yep. That's awesome. You guys can still do that. What my wife and I talk? Yeah. Yeah, we still talk. We still get along. Being married to me is not hell, as someone once said. Is married to me hell? If you married me, would it be hell? Let's just say being married to me is mildly annoying, but it's not hell. I love Parks and Recreation. Yes, my wife and I love that show too. Seinfeld is a show about nothing. They made poor pitch to Sunflower. They should have said you could leave back to Japan and no one in the world would know how great you are. You stay, get some spotlights. Yes. Yeah, I guess they just didn't want Sunfire on the team. Yeah, I mean, it kind of fits the arrogance of the character, but yeah, that's what they should have said. Okay, go back and sit in your comfortable little home and do nothing while the rest of us attain glory. I think that is a change in how media is consumed too. TV shows with self-contained stories, most because you could only catch it on cable TV. True. You watched it once a week, and if you missed it, oh, good point. Okay, good point. Back old TV. If you missed it, you missed it, and then it was gone for the summer. So they made it so that it was easy. Yeah, okay, good. I'll buy that. For you, Wolverine. DP7 is a good comic, but unfortunately not named. Yes, Seinfeld is life. All right, cool. I thought there was more comment. Okay, so Xavier said, I'm proud of you guys. We all fought, and now for the future. And he's like, no future. So Sunfire is leaving. So Xavier is a little bit surprised. He's like, I thought we bonded. And he's like, my duty is to my emperor. So maybe Eric's pitch, maybe it wouldn't have worked. He's loyal to the emperor. Sunfire is related to the emperor in some capacity. He's like a cousin or something like that. So maybe he just, whatever. He's just like, I ain't leaving Japan. I'm an emperor there. America is a country of peasants. And Xavier's like, anybody else want to leave? I love this. They're all just like, nah, I want to stay. We've been together barely 2 days, and Storm is saying over here, we've been together barely 2 days, and 2 days are nothing. But I am intrigued by you, Professor. I am intrigued by the professor's offer. I'll stay. Wolverine says, what the hell? And look how tiny Wolverine is compared to Storm. It sure beats sitting around Alpha Base waiting for the call. He's like, goodbye, you idealistic fools. But remember, if you need a samurai and you call me, I will say no. What a jerk. And then Banshee over here, he's just like, because I'm not gonna lie, I feel out of place here. Like I'm older than you guys. I think he's even older than Xavier. He goes, all you people are young people, blah blah blah. Banshee's got gray hair. It's time I was moving on. And I love it because Xavier goes, your hair is as gray as mine. He goes, and your brain's keener. Well, why don't you stay? So he decides to stay. So we got 2 old time, and then Angel is like, we're leaving. Jean Grey, Angel, and Iceman are leaving. He goes, when we started, we were kids. We never really been out on our own. We're gonna go out on our own. So I'm gonna turn the page. Obviously, you never heard of the indie title Super Cops, which was very much, and I never heard of it. The Emperor of Japan was only a figurehead after World War II. Yeah, but he's still like honor and tradition. He's not the ruler, but he's still revered. Wolverine was like, bye, Sunfire. More spotlight for me. No, Banshee is younger than Charles by 2 decades, but almost 2 decades old. Oh, okay. Okay, so Xavier is that much older? Okay. Leaving to form the Champions, yes. Such a good, bad book. So now we got Marvel's superhero stick-ons. Electro Man. I just like a costume designed by people who don't really understand how costumes work. We'll put some lightning bolts on his, and then we're gonna write Electro Man on his chest. That's like such a normie way of like some ad executive. I got this. They could have came up with such a cool dynamic electric symbol, but instead they just write Electro Man. You're what? But why? Gene, Warren, why? Because when we were children, when you took us in scared and uncertain, you taught us. You helped us realize our potential. You helped us grow, but we're not children anymore, Professor. We have to have lives of our own. Look, lady, you guys went out that badly, then split, take off. What is Wolverine? Just do us a favor and save us the soap opera. Listen, midget, one more word out of you and I'm gonna slam. Come on, I've never carved up an icicle before. That's enough. You're out of line, Wolverine. Put your claws away, calm down. You have to deal with me. Big talk. Anytime you want to try, Mr. Scott. I don't want to push you, brother, but are you coming with us? You staying? I don't know, Alex. I don't know. So all the old guys, I just hit puberty. All the old guys are leaving. Cyclops is having a crisis of conscience. And he's just like, what am I going to do? And again, this is one of the reasons that makes me like Cyclops so much, is he's just like, I have a duty. I have a curse. My eyes, I can still hurt people. I don't belong with normal people. Like, he understands that he's got like, think of it this way. Let's put it to even a liberal can understand. He's got 45 he's got AR-15s behind his eyes. Everybody's afraid of AR-15s. And he's got the fingers on the triggers constantly. And if he loses concentration, he's going to fire 8,000 bullets a second. That's because that's what an AR-15 does. It fires 8,000 bullets a second, and it just kills everybody. So if you explain it like that, people are like, oh, now I understand why mutants are, and he understands that he's got this problem. So he's like, I don't belong with normal people as much as I want to be. And I do think Scott enjoys being a martyr a little bit. So he's like, my eyes, my mutant eyes. So he's just like, I got to stay. So I like this. They're all coming down in their civilian clothes. Here's Lorna Dane, Polaris. And he's just like, I'm staying. I'm going to say, but I hoped we would. And she's like, the X-Men is my life. It's where I belong. It's where you belong, but not me, Scott. I know it's a lousy situation. I want to know I can't lose you. I love you. And I love you. Boom. And they kiss and she leaves. What a guy. Understands his duty. Yeah, duty. He understands his duty. He understands where he belongs. The X-Men need him. And he's willing to, sacrifice his love for it. This is a hero. This is the guy I like. Not the, not the guy that abandons his kids, later on. Nobody got character assassinated like I just realized my beard is getting really long. Let's check out the Banshee, according to Marvel, was born in the early 40s. Xavier is born in the 20s. All right, so Xavier's over 100 years old. They got to update that. Yeah. The originals were born in the late 40s, but Scott is 10 years older than the new team, except for Wolverine. Yeah. So Banshee's like 10 years older than Scott. Okay. Vaughn Coleman is here. How you doing? Good to see you. Beginning of a legend. And Vaughn's about to launch a Phenomena Nova 3. Also, the AR-15s are like to roam the earth alone and attack people randomly. Yeah, that's what they do. That's what they do. So let's turn the page. We got red China stamps. We got some Slim Jims over here. Evel Knievel towels. Man, I cannot stress how big Evel Knievel was. Oh, what year is this? 1975. Yeah, Evel Knievel was the poop. He was the poop. Evel Knievel. We got Kung Fu. We got snakes over here. So they're all waving goodbye, they're driving away. Such a Chris Claremont, like hanging around in the X Mansion talking, you know. All right, guys. We learned what it's being. Lesson 1. This is how you stay alive. This is the danger room. So this is the new X-Men's first encounter with the danger room. He goes, I'll give you 2 a second. To all you got to do is get to the other door. And if you remember, Kitty Pryde did the same thing. She had to get to the other door, and Kitty Pryde closed her eyes and phased and just walked with her eyes closed and opened the door, you know, and everything phased through her, you know. So Thunderbird's like, are you kidding me? Just got to touch the door. And then he goes in, and then you see him get tossed out. And then we got a montage, you know, very Neil Adams looking, if you ask me. And it's just the days go by. So time is passing in this montage, and the X-Men are coalescing, they're fighting and everything. So we got Colossus and Wolverine and Thunderbird fighting this freaky looking robot. Banshee avoiding lasers. Nightcrawler on a tightrope. Storm deflecting missiles. Colossus just punching crap. Wolverine and Thunderbird fighting Dr. Octopus like tentacles, you know, and Cyclops just commanding from the center. You know, it's just a typical X-Men. You get like a page of this in every issue. What was Jen thinking? Scott was going to get a job at a business suit, be an accountant with optic blasts, you know, for dealing with, yeah. Well, who knows, you know. What was she thinking? He was thinking the editors were thinking, we got to get a new blood in this team. This comic is getting canceled. we got to shunt off the dead weight. Hey, RJ Williams, Call Sign Orion is his comic. Good to see you. Good to see you. So let's turn the page. We got, what is this? Float on Air. I can't even read that. The print is so small, but it's like a little hover seat that floats on the air. Was it an early prototype drone? This still cracks me up. Hypnotize chicks. More Evel Knievel. Get some chicks in miniskirts to do your bidding. Comic books knew little horny boys were the main audience. Back then, they knew the little horny boys. So now Thunderbird gets shot in the leg by like a maser blast. It's one of my little pet peeves. A laser is light. Light would cut you. Light wouldn't give you a bruise. Like, you know, a laser would cut you. A maser, which is matter amplified, is more like a force blast. It's just a little annoying thing that only bothers me. So Cyclops is, look out. So Thunderbird gets hurt, and he's like, you're benched until further notice. He's like, what do you mean I'm benched? Now they're fighting. You ain't benching me. Who do you think you are? Blah, blah, blah. And next thing you know, we got a call. Report, Thunderbird, report to the infirmary. And we got a mission. I see no loser, John Proudstar. In this room, I see only men. So Storm is being Storm. She's being nice, you know. You got hurt. Men get hurt, you know. Got to go take care of that, you know. We're a super team, you know. You got hurt, big deal. Death over Valhalla High. So now we got Valhalla. It's a mountain fortress in NORAD. So NORAD is the North. I forget what it stands for. Anybody remember what NORAD stands for? But there really is a NORAD. The you know, it's a radar base, missile base, and now this is the secret headquarters, Valhalla base, and all of these people are you know, mail called, you know, for the North American Air Defense Command. North American Air Defense Command. So let's check out the comments. Damn, I didn't know maser was the thing. Yeah, laser is light amplified, synchronized something, because it's LASER. I forget. And maser is matter. So, you know, in my mind, laser would be photons cutting, and maser would be matter actually hitting. So it's like, so to me, my mind, like Cyclops is eye blast wouldn't be lasers. They would be masers, concussive. Good to know. Good to know. Yes, Cyclops shoots out concussive energy. So yeah, when Cyclops hits you with this power blast, it's like being punched by the Hulk. It's not hot. Contrary to a couple of images, it had him melting an I-beam in the early X-Men, and it's not laser. It's not cutting. It's force. It's kinetic energy. It's kinetic blast. It's like being hit by a truck, which I don't know. It's just so cool. At the Heroes Con, after Clarence told me Len Wein was the one who made him kill off Thunderbird. It wasn't his decision. Oh, yeah. Well, Len Wein was the editor. Len Wein was, he was the boss, and Claremont was the rookie. You got to do what the boss tells you. Low level lasers just enough to give you a negative reinforcement. Yeah. Why wouldn't the Avengers get called in on this, or do they have government clearance at all? Good question. Good question. Let's go to the next page. So, what is this package? Oh, here's a package. I'm going to open it up, and there's a big red button that says press me on it. I'm just going to press it. He hits the button, and it makes a portal, and the Ani-Men jump out. We got Croker. They do say they're all their names, but we got Croker, Gort, Bird Woman, and like Bug Girl, no, Dragonfly, and I can't think of the Bird Woman's name, but these are the Ani-Men, and the Ani-Men are hired henchmen. Deathstalker hired them. A couple of villains hired them. And what is it? It's powered suits that you basically buy the suits and then you put your guys in it, and now you got a menagerie of animal-like villains to enforce your will. So they're rent-a-thugs. So there's this guy's secret identity. Who cares? He's just thug number 7. That's female thug number 9. You know what I mean? And you put the costumes on, and there you go. So a battle is joined. So we got the security guards. They're no match for the thugs. They're just doing short work of all the people. Well done, my Ani-Man. Who speaks? Who do you think, Dragonfly? It's the boss, our lord and master. Quite true, my dear Croker. Count Nefaria is your lord and master. You would be well to remember that if you harbor any hopes of ever becoming human again. So either he's lying to him, or there's some sort of cybernetic interface that keeps them in the suit. There you go. Look at that. Look at this cyber frog jerk. This jerky little cyber frog over here. Can we all agree that frog-based superheroes are the worst? So, let's get a R.J. Williams. Same with other sci-fi lasers. It's really an energy blast. Yeah, I know. It doesn't matter. It only matters to me because I'm a crazy person. Whenever he uses his beams to create fire, it's more he used them to create friction. Yes, or smash something. Dragonfly, Birdman, Ape-Man, Catman, Frogman, Dragonfly are the only ones that was created. The others just want to steal stuff. No, originally they were humans that got enhanced. Oh, they were humans that got enhanced, because I know at one point it was animal suits. So the Ani-Men, what were they, like, created by a high evolutionary? So it is Count Nefaria, because when you're gonna rob NORAD, you're gonna smoke a cigar. You're gonna smoke a cigar. So what does he do? He puts an anesthetic gas throughout the base, boom, 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 and I'm gonna tell them. So these fools thought me defeated, destroyed when my assault on Washington failed those months ago, back in X-Men 22 and 23. So look at these old-time villains. We got Plant Man, Porcupine, the Eel, the Unicorn, and Scarecrow. I guess Count Nefaria did genetically modify these people into the first Ani-Men. So I guess I stand corrected. The first Ani-Men were enhanced humans, and then the second Ani-Men were suits. Okay, we got this rampaging Hulk over here. This is my favorite way the Hulk is drawn. I just love that. Speaking of the Hulk, what do we got here? I rearranged my stack of comics because I really want to get to this. So for today's reading, I'm going to get to these Hulk issues that I never actually read that literally have been sitting on my pile for 10, 15 years. So I'm going to read Hulk 116 to 150 next. That's my reading stuff. Uh, although Who Goes being a frog thing, his enhancement is beyond me. The Toad was a creepy mutant. Yeah. I like the idea of like some people get like mutant powers, but they're not gorgeous, or it's like a weird non-combat power. Like when we played Dungeons Dragons for a while, there was a couple of wizards that specialized in like household magic. Like they not every wizard's gonna want to go and fight a Neo Otagu in the Demogorgon. Like some of the wizards just do it for convenience, and like this one wizard was just like, he opened a restaurant and he just had like animated servants and spells for cooking food and cleaning, and you know what I mean? Lived a nice, comfortable, non-adventurous life. Like he used spells to keep himself healthy and young, and just made life pleasant rather than I'm going to go out and stab. So I like non-combat mutants. I like the idea. And you think for every laser blast mutant, there would be like 20, like not like maybe like a mutant who telekinesis, but only within 14 inches. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that's kind of cool, but what are you going to do? All right, so we got G.I. Joe meets the Amazing Atomic Man. G.I. Joe, when I was a kid, G.I. Joe, they were like 12 inches tall, articulate, that they were held together by rubber bands. Actually, they were held together by like an elastic thing that dissolved in water. So if you took your G.I. Joes into the bathtub like I did, all of a sudden the rubber bands just fell apart and their limbs just started floating away. And I had a friend whose father would fix them all. It was really cool because inside the piece had these little hooks. So I don't know what he would do. He would use like a wire or something like that, and put rubber bands and attach them all. And it was never as strong, but at least they weren't broken anymore. But anyway, the G.I. Joe, there was one guy named G.I. Joe. He was the leader. And then G.I. Joe was the guy with the beard, and everybody else was like subordinate to G.I. Joe. And here, the Atomic Man, and then the Bullet Man. And so G.I. Joe, for a little while, for like 5 years, maybe even more, because at this point, I think it was kind of winding down, for like 7 years, from like early 70s to right before 80. G.I. Joe was a military unit, and they were phasing in superheroes. And then they stopped, and then they became the small ones that just became a phenomenon that you guys probably know. So now he's still smoking, he's doing everything, and here's Cyclops just sitting there daydreaming, just brooding. He's not daydreaming, he's brooding. And he's just thinking about his life. And Nightcrawler is what is that? Excuse me, I didn't mean, it's okay. I was just thinking. Actually, I was wondering if there's something I could do. I mean, the argument with Thunderbird, with John, it upset you. So here's Nightcrawler just coming in, trying to like console. He understands Cyclops has responsibilities and problems. And before Nightcrawler can really say what's on his mind, he gets interrupted. Because I think my friend that if I remain in the accident to my dying day, I'll never get used to that. Oh, okay, yeah. So Xavier interrupts him. So what's going on? Count Nefaria is issuing an ultimatum to the world. I demand a ransom from each nation on Earth, the amount to be determined by each nation's ability to pay. If my demands are not met, I shall launch America's entire inventory of nuclear missiles. Nice guy. I wonder what he does for an encore. And then we got the Beast over here. Here's that poor drawing of the Beast. Hey, what's going on? Hank. He goes, okay, Professor, if you say so. The Air Force called the Avengers for help, but we can't handle it right now. So I figured the X-Men could. So yes, to answer your question, the Avengers were contacted first, but the Avengers are doing something. What are they doing? Don't know. Plot. So Beast, being that he's on the Avengers and he has contact with the X-Men, he goes to the X-Men, which shows to me that the X-Men were a respected, known superhero team. They weren't this mutant nonsense group at this point. They were a superhero team. You heard the Beast. Let's get going. Thunderbird, you're injured. You stay behind. He's like, you want to try saying that with a mouthful of knuckles? Scott, there's no time to argue with Thunderbird. Let's go. Dun, dun, dun. If only he listened to Scott, Thunderbird would have lived. Xavier overrides Scott, and now Thunderbird dies. Reason number 16 of why I don't like Xavier. I just don't like Xavier. Oh, I keep forgetting about the comments. Zactan. I think that is the difference between high fantasy and low fantasy, with high fantasy having magic being more common and widespread. Yes. Game of Thrones is like low fantasy. Conan is low fantasy. I mean, there is there is magic in both of them, but they're not commonplace. Whereas Lord of the Rings, magic is every day. Magic is on every page, even when you don't see it. This sounds awfully pretentious, but once you like read the Silmarillion and you understand the way the world works, magic is natural. And even the hobbits, even Aragorn, everybody in Middle Earth to some extent is using magic. Every being on Middle Earth had telepathy. They had foresight to a certain extent. It was just the way it worked in Tolkien's world. Game of Thrones, no, that was more like medieval Europe with dragons. Check to make sure they were enhanced humans. First 3 minus Dragonflight, first 4 Daredevil, and later the Unholy 3. But you really got to like stealing to do that yourself. Yep. Okay. The difference between high fantasy, low is mushrooms and LSD. So G.I. Joe was S.H.I.E.L.D. at one point. I guess, yeah, S.H.I.E.L.D. had superpowers. Yeah. I think, they were selling toys and superheroes were gaining in popularity. So G.I. Joe, in order to stay relevant, started to add superheroes. Bullet Man, Bullet Girl, Atomic Man. They had a couple of like superheroes, and then they just had like specialty agents, but they didn't have superpowers when in the 80s. Someone needs to remind the count that NORAD is no smoking. Well, yeah. You think he's going to follow the rules? Maybe more play cards would have stopped him. Not inadequate signage. Let's blame it on inadequate signage. And then it gets gay. Wow, ransom paid on a sliding scale. Yeah, how progressive. He's a progressive villain. I thought of a character when I was a teen that could only shoot softball-sized portals from his hands about 10 feet. What would his name be? And what does that do in a combat? Right. Thor, Iron Man, nuclear threat. It'll be fine. Game of Thrones is high fantasy with magic everywhere. Yeah, I didn't read the books. In the books, okay, I didn't read the book, and I ain't reading the books until that fat old bastard finishes the books. I'm not getting invested in the world and then he dies. I ain't falling for Robert Jordan nonsense again. Magic was purposely cut down 90% by the showrunners from it. Okay, all right. I only know the TV show. That is some Dr. Evil. Yeah. Threaten the world. Hey, Dave Brink is here. How you doing? Dave Brink is here. Genuine Comics. Looking forward to the next batch of Genuine Comics. A lot of people have not read the Song of Ice and Fire. Oh, yeah. Me included. I've had the board game for like 10 years before the show even came out. So I vaguely was aware of Game of Thrones, but and my nephew loves it. He keeps like, did you read it yet? And I tell him when the series is finished, I'll read it. I ain't reading 5 out of 7 books, and then some editor or Brandon Sanderson is going to finish it. In the month prior, Avengers 170 Yellow Jacket went down, and this month it came out, so they were fighting the Squadron Sinister. Okay. I've got some friends in Valhalla. If this Nefarious hurt any one of them, I'm going to cut him into very tiny pieces. You're Joshua, lad, ain't you? Ain't you? So Wolverine is making the threats. Let's hope you get your chance. What an odd thing to say. Cyclops says, let's hope you get your chance. Right now, we've got troubles of our own. That is such a weird comment. So let's go back and check out these 2 panels. I've got some friends in Valhalla. If this Nefarious hurt any of them, I think I'm going to cut him into very tiny pieces. And then Cyclops says, I hope you get your chance. So Cyclops is saying, I hope your friends are hurt. I hope your friends are hurt, Wolverine. And then I hope you get to commit murder. It should have been like an editor should have been like, I hope that doesn't happen. I hope you don't get that chance. I hope there's no need for that. But that is such a bizarre. Let's hope you get your chance. It's so bizarre. And now the Air Force is showing up, and Cyclops is telling them who they are. Who are you? Iron Man, Captain America? No, sir. The Avengers couldn't make it. We're the X-Men. And then I love this comment. The general, again, no smoking unless you're a supervillain or a general. Figures, I might have known you muties show up with Nefaria around. I don't really trust you, mister, but right now I got no choice. Nefaria controls Valhalla, and he's armed. The defensive systems, lasers, sonic disruptors to work, and that's the least of your worries, because the fool has disarmed the Doomsmith system. It's the ultimate weapon. So basically, they're on a clock. If they don't take back control over NORAD, it's going to launch the nuclear payday. All the weapons are going to be launched. We got 52 minutes to cancel Doomsmith. Dragonfly, a ship approaches. So the fools launch another futile attack. Interestingly, the computer identifies the aircraft as the X-Men. By heavens, this is too rich a jest. My greatest foes walking into my parlor. Like lambs going into the slaughter. Boom, 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 launches some rockets. Fools, the fools sought Count Nefaria. Let them instead find only death. Dun, dun, dun! Hole punch, it just punches holes and sends body parts to, ooh, that's gruesome. So that's his name. He just hits you. That's deadly. That is deadly. I have a female teleporter. Her name is Gates, and she creates portals. Boom. And she could, very deadly. I mean, moving things. So like she could open up a portal in lava, and all of a sudden a portal just and boom, lava just comes spraying out at you and things like that, or in space, and you just get sucked out. But one of the things is the edge is fragile, so if you were to hit the edge, it just collapses like a soap bubble. So if she was to turn them, this way and aim, like they always cut people in half. No, they would hit anything besides air, and they would fragile. And even air would cause them to collapse. So she needs to concentrate to keep. And the more portals she opens, the more energy she's expending. Is it possible to get on my show? Yes, DM me on Twitter, or or message me at johnslongbox@yahoo.com. Yeah, you've been on my show, Tim. Yeah, it's possible. Sunday Comics, I don't have guests, but yes, yeah. No one likes Nefaria. He's nefarious. With respect, people make tall claims with zero knowledge of the books. Game of Thrones is a TV show, not the book. Yeah, they're different. Drives me crazy how people make opinions with 20% of the background. Yeah, I'm just talking about the show. WTF? What Cyclops says? Cyclops says, Wolverine in Valhalla would be very interesting to see. Hello, Kurt Angle. My neck is fine. They do hate each other, though. Good morning, all. Hope you enjoyed the Independence Day with your family's good health. Yeah, I really did. I really did. Villain is like, oh no, a team of trainees. Yeah, that would be terrifying. That would be terrifying. The Drag Squad. Teleportation, such awesome. Yes, it really can. It really can. Teleport. Personal teleportation. To me, there's two types. There's personal teleportation, like Nightcrawler, and then there's the kind with like portals. Who Spot, I guess, has the portals, and Magic has portals. Gates is deadly, especially when running a farm. A farm? I don't get that. Gates is the name of Legion. Oh, that teleport. Oh, so now I got to use a different name. Maybe. X-Men first fought Nefaria way back. It doesn't matter. I have no plans for Gates to show up in any comic books, so maybe I'll come up with another. X-Men first fought Nefaria way back in issue 22, where he sent Porcupine, Plantman, Elon. Yes, they referenced it at the beginning. I was referring to Bill. I don't I don't get it. I don't get it. All right, so let's turn the page. Blink makes teleportation portals. Yes, I like Blink, but she also could go to like other dimensions, or am I getting confused? Because she was part of the like what's the name of that book where the X-Men teleport all around the world? Why can't I think of but I really like that book. Exiles. You know, I'm pretty sour on multiverse, but I did like Exiles. You know, because I don't know. Oh, Bill Gates owns a lot of farm. Okay, all right. Super speed or teleportation, which is a better power? Teleportation, hands down, is a better power to travel. You know, it also depends. Like when you teleport, is it short distances like Nightcrawler? Does it release a stink cloud? You know what I mean? But like if you could just think, go anywhere, like do you need? There's also like you gotta be consistent with the rules. When you teleport, do you have to know exactly where you're teleporting, or do you risk teleporting through furniture, through other people? Does your power? Do you have some sort of super sense that compensates for that? Um, do you teleport through another dimension, and then there's repercussions of that? Do you teleport? Like, could you carry anything? Could you know, how much could you carry? And if I was to grab, say I'm Nightcrawler, let's say for the sake of argument, I'm Nightcrawler and I grab Magneto when I teleport, can I rip off his arm? Or can I not teleport because I don't have the ability? Like we are in contact now, so do I have to? My energy have to teleport? Well, you have to come up with all of those rules, which is why, like, I think a portal is easier to sell to people because it's visual and it kind of makes sense. But like Nightcrawler doesn't just like I remember that back in the old forums, Nightcrawler could beat anybody. He could grab Superman and teleport Superman's head off. No, he can't. Nightcrawler was limited by like what he could physically carry. So I'm going to make up numbers just for the sake of argument. Nightcrawler, he could lift 400 pounds. Okay, we'll 500 pounds. So he grabs Superman and he teleports. 500 pounds of force isn't enough to rip Superman's head off. You know what I mean? But maybe 500 pounds is enough to rip a normal person's arm off or something like that. You know, 500 pounds of force. But Superman, no. So, like, to me, if Nightcrawler grabbed Superman's head and then tried to teleport it, he would suffer a physical backlash that would take him out of the fight, you know, because that's Nightcrawler. But, like, you know what I mean? Like, now Magic putting a portal around Superman's head, like, I think Superman would, yeah, you get what I'm saying. There's logical explanations of the power. Now, super speed is really, really cool, but can you fly? Tripping hazards. Do you have like super resolution so you can see everything? Like, you know, faster you are, like if I run through my construction site at normal, less than human speed, I'm going to trip and fall and hurt myself. You know what I mean? So like there's hazards for both. I think teleportation is more creative and potentially more dangerous, but you need to be consistent with the rules. You got to figure that out before you make up that character, and you have to, rather than info dump, you have to kind of explain it. Like I liked in the next issue when Nightcrawler was falling, he said, I if I teleport, I'm gonna, wherever I go, I'm gonna have the same speed. So if I teleport to the ground, I'm just gonna die that much faster. You know, so like, can Nightcrawler, if he's traveling in this vector, could he teleport and orientate so he's now at this and go up and then slow down and, you know, like a series ups and then land? You know, or was he just not experienced? But he could do that. He just didn't think of it. You know, that's kind of fun stuff to figure out in the exploration. Dave Brink is laughing at me. That's cool. Oh, he's okay. Lockjaw was always my favorite teleportation. Yeah, he had like ultimate teleportation power. He could teleport through time, dimensions, space, galaxies. Yeah, yeah. And I like John Byrne's explanation that he was a normal human who got transformed into a dog-like thing, because there's no other inhuman animals. Blink, as far as I know, doesn't use other dimensions. Oh, but Marl, okay. She had the plot device on her arm given to her by the the guy who ran the Exiles. I forget what it was called. The Tantalus device, which is from Star Trek. So it just sounded cool, even though it didn't make any sense. But yes. Teleportation is one of the most useful powers from a writing. Got to add a few teleporting. Yeah. My character's name was Gates, and now I got to look up Gates in the Legion of Superheroes. I vaguely remember she looked like an insect, right? Did Gates look like an insect? I like your work, sir. Salute and keep up the good work. There you go. Or you could teleport stuff to you. You could just think of it as stuff. Think of the fire, and you teleport him, stands close or jail. Yeah. But again, you have to come up with the rules, and you have to be consistent, just like any power. Can't wait to see those characters. Hey, Brian Bao is here. I was late to the party. Brian Bao has an active campaign right now. Go check it out. I think Marcus already left, but is it on Kickstarter? Brian, if you could just write the title of your campaign and what platform it's on, because I can't pull out the drawer and type because I got the camera right here. Teleportation is cool to write, while super speed can create real problems if it's not turned on. Yes. And I think super speed, like Flash's super speed, moving that fast within an atmosphere should cause problems. Like there's laws that you can't hit supersonic speeds, in populated areas. You can't be on a boat and create a wake, so, and that's, I know Flash has the magic science aura that protects him from all the, it gives him all the benefits and removes all the penalties of moving at that speed, but that's the Flash. DC guys are like gods. I prefer super speed since it's my favorite superpower. Hello, Brian. Does it bother anyone that Superman's flight is never explained? We dissect every other. No. It's fun to explain, but it gets to be crazy. Like, remember we had the Marvel Universe, the Marvel Handbook of the Marvel Universe, and then we had the DC Who's Who. I like the DC Who's Who better because it just said Superman flies, he has super strength, he shoots lasers out of his, heat vision. He doesn't shoot lasers, he shoots heat vision out of his eyes. And, and whatever, Firestorm rearranges molecule. Like, Marvel went into this really weird, boring explanation of how the powers worked, and it doesn't matter. Nightcrawler teleports. Cyclops shoots concussive blasts out of his eyes, and then they explain the dimension, and who cares? What you need to do is be consistent and a little bit of logic, like Captain America's shield. It doesn't, it's not that it's super hard. It's that it disperses kinetic force. That is really cool. Then John Byrne came up with other explanations of how to use that power. That is really cool. But you can get too bogged down in explaining the powers. Like John Byrne said, Superman just radiates a field, and when he picks up an airplane, the whole plane is protected by this field, like tactile kinesis. How you doing? Right, lifting 500. Logic is going to, dissect everything I say. You get the point that I'm making. Totally agree. Nightcrawler needs to obey the laws of physics, though his power, yes. But lifting, right, and exerting twisting force, you're right. I'm not here to explain physics. I'm here to explain superhero logic. Depends on the teleportation. Remember the living eraser? He could erase Superman's head so his body is in this. Yeah. But they're still connected at some sort of quantum level, I like that Mike Barron made it that the Flash requires fuel to refuel his body for super speed. Yep. I love that. I had to figure out warp speed and supersonic speed with all my ships in call sign Orion. I came up with two different types of fuel that are sometimes used with warping space, which I nowhere near it, but I have a different types of faster than light speed in my comic. There's different alien races that employ different types of there's true faster than light speed where you just fly faster than light speed. And that is an ability that only meta beings, like superhuman, and if you're alien, you can do it too, because you have the power. Like superpowers, like the Patriarch has the power of telekinesis. He just has the power of telekinesis. The power itself defies logic and reason, but yet it follows logic and reason. Superpowers are paradoxes. You know what I mean? He could do things with it that make logical sense, but it doesn't make sense that he has this power. So if you could fly, you could just fly. Superman just flies. Captain Atlas in my world just flies. He just defies gravity. And because of that, you're suspending your disbelief. So he could just, it's an extension of his will and his personal power. So he could fly faster than light. What's her name? Starlet. She could fly faster than the speed of light. But a ship, an engine, an inorganic, non-intelligent thing that doesn't have this connection to this source of superpowers, it cannot go faster than the speed of light. So we have like warp drive. So what is a warp drive? It's like Dune. You know what I mean? It collapses the difference. Basically, it teleports. And the faster you go is what you you rev up the engine and you basically teleport. So like a really fast engine would teleport faster distances, warp faster distances, and it could warp more often. When we played our role-playing games, my player characters had warp drive ships, and they could do it once a day, and it took 8 hours of maintenance, and then it took another 8 hours of regeneration. So it took 16 hours before they could use it again. And then they would invent processes to make it so that they could probably do it twice a day. In an emergency, they could do it another time, but that increased the risk factors. And and their ship could warp 1 light year. You know what I mean? So for a journey of 4.6 light years would take 5 days at best. But their characters could fly in minutes because they could fly faster than the speed of light. And then another one was hyperspace, where you actually leave our dimension and go to other dimensions where time, 1 mile here is 14 billion lot. You know what I mean? So you went to where different space. So you, like the Millennium Falcon goes to these hyperlace and it bypasses normal space, it goes to hyperspace, and then emerges. So you're not really going faster than the speed of light. Only a living mind could do that. And then there's one more that I'm not going to explain. It's the secret that the most advanced race uses. You're too kind, but I didn't show up to hijack you. Yeah, I know, but I like everybody together. We got like 60 people watching. Let them know about your campaign. Superman's flight is an act of both strength and the will and the solar energy. But yeah, right. There comes a point where we explain it too much. I know I explain a little too much, and then I don't explain. There's a fine line, I guess. Yeah, but as a head that dimension, he can move anywhere in his body. So what's he gonna do? He can't. Yeah. The Patriarch is a pretty fast guy from what I read in Heroic Tales. There is an extra dimensional source of all superpowers, and you'll see Mary Sue. Your mind makes contact with this source, and you're pulling power out of that. So when their eyes start to glow, they're pulling. That's kind of like an alarm, like you're doing too much. And when you're doing too much, you're in danger of affecting your brain and going mad. All superheroes in Heroic Tales, sooner or later, go crazy and become villains. Because channeling this power is not something that humans are supposed to do, at least not yet. We're not there yet. And we learned about it the wrong way. There's a proper way to do it, and there's an improper way to do it. And we were exposed to it too soon. And the Patriarch is the longest continuing superhero because he's kind of grounded, but other, they live in their ivory tower, the superheroes, and they kind of lose touch. So, but when their eyes start to glow, that's like, I'm channeling too much power. I got to take it down. If you're saying super a lot but ignore physics, then you're using pure fiction to ignore physics. Yep. You just got to be consistent. I think we all suspend disbelief, but Nightcrawler, if we establish that Nightcrawler, when he teleports, bam, it smells like brimstone, and then the next issue a lightning bolt hits him. You know what I mean? We got to be consistent. We're talking nonsense, with superpowers and everything like that, but we create this illusion of believability by being consistent. I'm going to need to revisit this physics conversation. Okay, cool. I welcome that. This is fun. This is fun. And I'm not the boss. I'm just making up my world. And here's a funny thing. I'm having a difficult time. I told you at the beginning of this, somebody wants me to contribute a story for their comic with one of their characters. And he was just like, oh, so how's it work? Is everybody just in the same world? And I was like, no, because you did this with the Greek gods and you did this with this civilization and you did this. Those don't work in my world. So it has to be other dimensions. So that has to be either my character travels to you or your character travels to. So we decided Mary Sue was the best one for that particular team up. So Mary Sue, and I'm being vague on purpose because it could fall apart. You know what I mean? So we have to work out a way that our two characters meet, and in such a way that it doesn't change the content. Because if all of a sudden, and I always hate those team ups like the Justice League, Justice League of the Avengers. They kind of understood that they traveled to different universes, but like later on in there was like the Superman Spider-Man team up. They were just in the same world. They just fought. It didn't matter. So at the end of the day, it didn't really exist. Like I want it to really matter, but it doesn't interfere with my continuity and it doesn't interfere with their continuity. So there has to be one or both travel out of their world. So that's what I'm writing up. When it comes to sci-fi, writers pick and choose, but yes, they ignore real. Right, like Doctor Who, they this is a fixed point in time until it's not a fixed point in time. What would you say? Everybody says that The Expanse is the best as far as real world physics. I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. Gravity is a theory. What about hyperdimensional torsion of physics? If real, yeah, there's a lot of there was a lot of stories set in Africa because Africa was unexplored. And then as Africa got explored, there was less stories set in Africa. There's getting less and less room. Like when I think of planets to put in my role-playing game, I'm like, is this part of space mapped yet? Like, do we know about this planet? And if we don't, I get a little too nutty about things like that. In my comic, I have a monster that was made out of an eyeball and a dead octopus. Nobody can explain the physics because nobody's just right. I love Zagzog. I love Wolf and Batsy. Everybody, do yourself a favor and check out Wolf and Batsy. It's on Kickstarter, right? I think a creator should establish the physics for his created world. Yep, and avoid any real world physics. I don't know about that. When you mix and match real world physics with sci-fi, you're going to have these problems. Yeah. I'm not saying that I'm super consistent, and I'm sure if you go over my stories, you'll find inconsistencies. It's funny because I whenever I read like Tolkien or J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter, I always try to pick out the mistakes. I can't find any mistakes in Tolkien, but I have found a few. I'll call them mistakes in J.K. Rowling, but not enough to ruin the enjoyment. Let's get back to this. So he's firing these missiles, and then what do we got here? We got the bullpen bulletins. This is Stan's soapbox. This is Stan's little column that he's talking to us. Man, I avoided these like the plague when I was a little kid. I didn't read them. Nowadays, I like reading them. Like Stan's gone. I want to hear Stan's words. And it's funny because SJW Marvel will take and they'll clip a paragraph out of a Stan's soapbox that bolsters their point, and they ignore so much stuff that trashes what Marvel and DC do. But that's what people do. They take a snippet of a conversation out of context and use it to create a rumor and then talk about me. But I love reading these now. And then these are items. This is just in-house news in in Marvel itself. Again, I didn't read this stuff until now. Now, when I take out an old comic, yeah, I read this. I read the whole comic, and then I go back and read this, read the letters page. We got Captain Marvel over here eating Twinkies. Can we see actual Twinkies? Because we know Captain Marvel is a real hero, and he understands that Twinkies are the most delicious. Not fruit pies, Brian. That's why you're a monster guy, and that's why I'm a hero guy. I like Twinkies, so therefore I'm a good, wholesome hero. You like fruit pies, which makes you a monster. Okay? There we go. Master Obo, Wolf and Batsy's added to my watch list. Don't put it in your watch list. Put it in your read list. Put it on your pile of comics. It's really good. It's really good. And you can get them all. The Expanse is sci-fi, but set close enough to current day. It uses current tech and theoretical based, so it looks different. Yeah, my friends really, really like it. Really, really like it. I got to check it out. I got to check it out. Or just make up a fake story out of thin air. You could do that. We need John's soapbox. Brian's laughing at my destruction of fruit pies. Polar bears were only discovered in 1758 and giant pandas in 1780. So you think the panda would have been discovered much sooner? Yeah, and and didn't George Washington? I heard someplace that George Washington had no concept of dinosaurs. Is that true? I don't know. Logic, you know a lot. Is that true that George Washington had no concept of dinosaurs? And I like Brian Bow always brings up that, like, even in the 20s, gorillas weren't really a commonly known, photographed, understood thing. So, like, when they made gorillas in movies, they were like monstrous with fangs and everything like that. That's why, King Kong, was a monstrous thing, and Mighty Joe Young. Nowadays we don't really have, like, what's left. Bigfoot. What is the last? Bigfoot's real or not real, depending upon what you think. As far as cryptids, I want them to be real, but until we prove them, they're not real. I err on the side of the less fantastic. Like, fantastic claims require fantastic evidence. That's the hill that I'll die on. The Expanse is far enough away to feel sci-fi, but close enough to feel real. No phasers, gravity plating shields, a lot of the current limitations. Is it worth watching, though? Is it good? Come join my stream after this. Send me a link on Twitter, Vaughn. First dino bones were not discovered until after the Civil War. Okay. Civil War. Yeah. I forgot when George Washington was alive. I was like, yeah, George Washington fought the Civil War. Dinosaurs weren't coined until 1850. Okay, so that is true. Let's turn the page. Turn the page. Cyclops. They fired missiles. I see them, Kurt. Hold on, people, because right about now, things are going to get rough. Little evasive maneuvers. The missiles are following them. And the throttle firewalled, the modified SR-71 Blackbird skims the tree line at a bare 20 feet. Its Mach 4 sonic booms thundering throughout the narrow passes like the thunder of Thor himself. In a mad, desperate gamble, Cyclops tries. The gamble pays off. So, evasive maneuvers. He does some Tom Cruise nonsense, and goes too low. The heat-seeking missiles hit the trees. They go exploding. Nice try, boss man. Too bad one of those little futzers got away. A futzer. There's a way around the comics code. Make up your own curses, you futzers. You guys are a bunch of futzers, all of you. And boom, it hits. I can't control. Is our only chance. Eject. So he hits the button, and this little escape pod gets launched. If we're lucky, the crash shielded the lifting body from the fire. As far as he knows, we're dead, and we still have a chance. No, well, let's hold. The X-Men still live. So much for that. The editing is a little off, if you ask me. So as far as Nefaria knows, we're dead. We got away. We could still be. Next word is no, they're alive. The subterfuge didn't even last like one panel. How many times must I kill them before these cursed mutants are finally dead? Well, then, they will find Count Nefaria is more than a worthy foe. Let's see them survive Valhalla Sonic Disruptors. And boom, he fires a Sonic Disruptor at this escape pod. Boom. And now they're falling. And it'll take us back 3 weeks ago when we did X-Men 95. So here we go. them all falling, go down now. Gravity's just a theory, so they shouldn't really fall. Put a marble on your chest. I had this shirt. I just remember there's a picture of me somewhere. I got to find it. Me wearing it, and my fat belly's just hanging out of the bottom. You know, little too short. Look at the ads, fishing ads. You know, kids were a little bit more concerned with chicks and fishing and going out and doing evil Knievel nonsense. And what is this for? LaSalle Extension University. Greater mail this coupon. What we just look at one, but mailing could lead to a more LaSalle coupon is the most. Right now, ambitious men of works preparing better futures with the help of LaSalle spare time training. Whether your goals are increased after career opportunities. Okay, what does it do? LaSalle offers you many kinds of home study programs. Your choice is wide. LaSalle gives you modern, comprehensive, and many of today's growth fields where there's room for trained new customers. You learn home lessons, come to you by mail. You're a class of one. You choose your own study hours. What do you get out of it? You get a rewarding lesson. A lesson about what? That's funny. So there you go. This is X-Men 94. This is like the only ding over here. But otherwise, this is a really good shit. Where are they? John, you have to make that choice. The Expanse is absolutely great TV show, adapted from amazing. Yeah, my buddy read the novels and he read the show, and he kept trying to get me to watch it, and then I refused to get the vaccine, and he stopped talking to me. So there we go. X-Men cannot fly. Well, Storm can fly. Banshee can fly. X-Men lose more Blackbirds than the Avengers ever lost Quinjets. Yeah, I know. Futzers. I'm stealing that. Well, you would, because you're a futzer. Several of the X-Men do fly. Storm, Rogue, Angel. Yes, Sunspot. Sunspot flies? Does he fly? Cannonball. Now we need to collaborate times on the... Oh, Blackbird versus the Quinjet. That's an interesting one. Rogue flies. Brian's laughing. Retro DM Ray. How you doing, Retro DM Ray? Good to see you. As a kid, I had a shirt that featured scenes from Marvel, Team Up 13, Cap and Spidey versus Grey Guard. Oh, wow. Where'd you get that shirt? So, as normal, I'm done with this. So I just keep talking while the chat is going. Anybody want to say? Yeah. Sunspot could not fly at the time, I believe. Yeah, Sunspot couldn't fly at first. Did he evolve or level up or Pokemon the ability to fly later on? Because I know they had Warpath, which was Thunderbird's brother, joined up. I think it was in the X-Force, and Warris Ellis was writing, and he developed the ability to fly. He basically became like Indian Superman later on. So, and superheroes do tend to develop extra powers sooner or later. So I don't did some plot fly. I don't remember him flying. Sunspore can't fly. I think you mean Sunspot. I always loved Rogue, but didn't like that she could fly. For some reason, she always felt like a more grounded character. But my hill to die on is Rogue. Rogue is a great name for a character that, by her very powers, has to be away from everybody. Like a rogue elephant is an elephant that just leaves the pack and it hangs up by itself. A rogue planet is not orbiting a star. It's just going through interstellar space. I love the concept of rogue planets, but a rogue can't be around people because she's dangerous. Her defining power is her ability to, she touches you, it's painful, you collapse, you're unconscious, and she steals your essence, your soul, your memories, your powers, for a time. Like, she never forgets, but she doesn't keep it. So she steals it, and then sooner or later it goes back to you. I think it was a mistake to let her permanently keep Carol Danvers' powers, because Rogue is Supergirl with the defining power is her least used ability. She flies, she's super strong, she's invulnerable, she's Supergirl with the power to steal your memories, powers, stuff like that. So I just think it was a mistake. I think she would be a more interesting character if she lost Carol Danvers' abilities and just became Rogue. Like Cyclops. He could fly. He could shoot invulnerability. He's invulnerable. He could fly. He could super strength, and he has eye beams. So what makes Rogue is the least used of her powers, because all she does, she wears this unstable molecules costume, and she has total control over this power. That, you know what I mean? The only, she takes off the glove and steals your power, and then you're unconscious. Like, she just defeats you with the touch. Like, Rogue, to me, is a character that needed more development before she showed up. She came out a little undone, but I don't think she had plans to be around for that long. It's okay to make a supervillain overpowered. You know what I mean? Like, she took out Captain America and Thor in her first appearance. You know what I mean? And that now she's supposed to be on a team. Yeah, they should have logicked her out a little bit better. Sunspot learned to fly later on. Okay, I believe you. I now writers should stop adding new powers and abilities to all X-Men are gods nowadays. Yeah. Nothing ruins a good character by becoming too powerful. And we dealt with this in my role-playing game by okay, like one day we were playing a game and one of the characters died. What I forget who died, and he rolled up a new first level character, but everybody else on the team was like 9th and 10th level, so we couldn't just fight muggers. You know what I mean? We had to fight like Magneto level guys. So at the end of the adventures, we're dividing up the experience points, and he went from first level to like 7th level in one adventure. And then he just like, what in the way Village Vigilante, where you train every level, and you know what I mean. So he just went from like weakling to badass in one adventure, and it really took away character dividing development. So I made a house rule that it doesn't matter how much experience points you have, you can only go up one level per session. So it rewards you for coming to the games. You come 10 times, you have the chance to level up 10 times. But if it doesn't matter if you defeat Galactus and get 80 billion experience points, you ain't going. You go on a second level at the end of that adventure, and then the next time you play, the excess points just hang out, and then you could use them later on. And in my house rules, you could use experience points for other things. But it gives, so you got to be able to develop the character, figure out everything like that. It just makes it more fun and interesting. The X-Men now, and the like the Flash in DC, he's all powerful now. He's so powerful. It kind of ruins the fun of the character. You know what I mean? Like, there has to be, like, Superman is so powerful they invented kryptonite, and now it's funny, like, now he could supercharge himself where he's immune to kryptonite. I don't know. When Rogue stole Captain Marvel's power, yeah, she could fly. The Warbird character, yeah, Carol Danvers was originally Miss Marvel, then she was Warbird, and then Binary and Warbird, I forget. I think she was Harrier for like a couple of issues, and then she went back to Miss Marvel. Now she's Captain Marvel. Hey, Fourth Age, great to see you. I was hoping Rogue could kill Captain Marvel in the movies. Yeah, nobody likes Brie Larson. I gotta say, I didn't see the movie The Marvels, but I gotta say she looked good in that outfit. Good morning, Omnipo B. Sunspot learned to use the solar energy absorbs to create a thermal updraft, and he learned to use this. Okay, cool. I did not know that, or maybe I did and I forgot. Colossus has great potential. I think was never really utilized or expanded, at least in my memory of him. I like Colossus as a Superman analog. He's blue and red. He's farm boy, wholesome, good, strong, and vulnerable. But I don't want him to fly. I mean, look at that. That is just a cool. Dave Cockrum just made some great designs. Look at all these designs. They're awesome. Well, I don't think Dave Cockrum did design Banshee. I'm all caught up with the comments. I can't think of anything else to say. Heroic Tales #2 is still available on Fund My Comic. I think it's got like 20 more days before the campaign closes down. I got 151 backers, which is, you know, I had 300 backers of issue 1 on the campaigns, and I'm hoping to get closer to that. So let's close the gap. They say that your first couple of weeks is big, and then the middle is the doldrums, and then so let's just hope that things pick up towards the end. Oh, all of a sudden, a whole bunch of comments just popped up. Okay, I was about to close it down, but a whole bunch of comments popped up. They went way crazy with secondary mutant abilities, especially when suddenly everyone developed. Yeah, I agree. If everybody's got a healing factor, it's possible that teenage Brian loved Rogue more because of her tight green costume and new wave hairdo because of her power. That is possible. Because teenage Brian was a futzer. He was a futzer who ate fruit pies. Spider-Man could control spiders for like 4 issues, but that power went away quick. Yeah, just like Captain America, Superman had super strength for like a year, maybe during Steve Englehart's run. He could lift like 50 tons. And I remember that's why I thought Captain America could fly, because in one of those he like jumped to a building, and I'm like, oh, see, Captain America could fly. The power is stupid. The problem is, Marvel, that writers are okay. We want this guy to be a threat. Okay, let's have him kill Angel, but then we don't want to kill Angel. So now he's a healer. Yeah. That's why you need an editor. That's why you need an editor. That's why you got to bounce an idea off. Okay, this is like Denny O'Neil. He threw out, like Chuck Dixon would say that Denny O'Neil, what he would throw out, I did. That's a good story, but it's not Batman because it's going to damage the character or it's going to damage the continuity. Use that for something else. And Chuck was like, okay, I see your point. And then Chuck would use it for whatever, his own characters or Moon Knight later on. You know what I mean? But like, okay, we're going to just kill Angel. Well, how does that affect Marvel Universe as a whole? You know what I mean? Like you gotta think like that. When you come up with the story and you want to tell a story, it's cool in the moment. Like Richard C. Meyer. In his first freaking Jawbreakers book, he's killing all the characters. And now it take him 10 years to come up with a really lame story to bring them back. That's just multiverse. Same as everything else that's going on. You know what I mean? You gotta plan ahead, especially when it comes to the death of a character. If you're planning the death of a character or the maiming of a character or whatever, or leveling up their powers, you really got to think, how is this going to be exploited? Is it going to change everything? Is this a bad? Not all change is positive change. We got to think like that. Good point there, Phantom. Brie Larson has a great rack, and that logic and I will not bigger. We will not snicker. We will not fight. We will agree that there's certain things that unite us all, and Brie Larson's rack will unite us all. And I think even Brian Bow will join in on that one. But the second she opens her smug, condescending mouth, I have to walk away. No argument. That's not a bad Colossus on the cover. Yeah, Dave Cockrum is so good. Dave Cockrum. Brian Bow, I like Emma Frost for her tight, barely there white outfits. Yeah. I will say, White Queen, it drives me nuts when they have a villain superhero name and they use their identity. Jack Napier, instead of saying the Joker. He's the Joker. But White Queen is a great villain, and she's evil and she's manipulative. And all of these people like simping for her and drawing her like, okay, all right, she's a sexy woman. But she is one of the most sinister evil of all Marvel characters. She's a sex trafficker who uses her mind control to procure sex trafficking. Reread the Hellfire Club, and put it like, think of it as Jeffrey Epstein and Maxine. You know what I mean? Like, she's not good. She manipulated her way. Like, she's a mind controlling telepath. Everything she did is suspect. If you read her series, she manipulated her own father to get what she wants. She's a horrible person. And all of these people just like, oh, it's like, you don't understand how evil and nasty this character is. If she said that she loved Jesus, all of these progressives would hate her in a second. You can manipulate minds and procure sex victims. That's fine to them. You know what I mean? I'm getting off on a tangent. Yes, Colossus had a great start, but Supermaning him was stupid. Glad I caught the show. Thanks, John. I had my third child. Oh, congratulations. So I'm off for a week. You have a lot of videos planned. Just my normal amount. Monday, Tuesdays, I don't do videos. I got friends over. We played games. Wednesdays, I got 2 videos, myself and RJ from the Fourth Age. Thursday, I got a guest. Friday, I usually do two videos, a guest, and then it's clobbering time. So I kind of have a regular schedule. I think a regular schedule is the best to keep. And every once in a while, like yesterday, I did a 20-minute pop-in video about Mabel Bakes because I didn't know I was getting cookies. What is funny, if he had a healing factor, should have kicked in years earlier when he lost his wings, but apparently they did not read or right. Everybody's got a healing factor. Yeah, but her and Cyclops kissing on Jean's grave, no coming. There's a lot of no coming back for Cyclops. I will say, if I was to write the X-Men, I would involve some sort of, not excuse, not a hand wave, but like think about all of the major influences, relationships in Scott Summers' life. Xavier, Jean Grey, Emma Frost, they're all telepaths. I would say that Scott's, like, his mind is damaged by telepaths, or the fact that telepaths have always been in his mind makes him susceptible, or maybe his willpower and control makes it so that he could only feel a connection with somebody who could get past this thing. You know what I mean? Because what are the odds? The 3 major relationships in his life are telepaths, and all of them insert some, like even the Goblin Queen. She was telepathic, right? I really like the inner circle of the Hellfire Club, the intricate complex. Yep, I do. I like them too. They were great villains. Great villains. Especially since by now Scott would know Jean would never, that with who? Yeah, I know. Your name's Phoenix. You're coming back from the dead. Dead is dead unless your name is Phoenix. Phoenix implies resurrection. That's why they didn't need this Phoenix Force. It was built in that she was coming back. I'm looking a lot like Nicholas Scratch today. Congratulations. Yes, congratulations. I'll just delete the last 15 odd years of garbage. I also can't do that. It's there. It happened. We have to address it, because then it just sets the precedent. Then you become DC and just restart and nothing matters. You have to address it. Otherwise, either continuity matters or continuity doesn't matter. Brian agrees with Phantom Upside. Yeah. Yep. Like I said, no character has been assassinated as thoroughly as Cyclops. Why? Because he was a good leader who filled with self-restraint and self-sacrifice, and didn't indulge his every fantasy. He's everything a progressive is not. So therefore, he had to be exterminated. Goblin Queen is one of the best supervillain costumes. Way cooler than White Queen. Yeah. A lot of comments. I keep trying to end it, and you guys keep throwing in comments. If I would run Marvel, I would do everything past 1996 with Marvel Reborn. Never happened. There's one thing about ignoring it, like just not referencing it, and another thing is, just jump starting and saying it never happened. To me, that's just like a bad precedent. It happened. We have to address it. Figure out the problems and then work out the problems. Like, we have to address One More Day. We have to address and there has to be stories that mean something. Like the death of Kraven's Last Hunt. That should have been the last time Kraven ever showed up. Like, once you have a story of that quality that kills off a character, they should stay. Like, Barry Allen never should have came back. That was the most beautiful superhero death. Kraven's Last Hunt was a great ending to a not a great character, an okay character. I wasn't too crazy about Kraven, but and that's like with Daniel. You're gonna kill him, he's got to be dead. Look, Marvel, like every other IP was taken over mind control. Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't address Marvel. Yeah, it's funny that you said that. It's funny that you said that, Logic, because James Robinson did the. I finished the Fantastic Four at Marvel's Reborn, the end of Marvel's Reborn. No. Then there was like a series, but the James Robinson Fantastic Four, I didn't buy that. That was the last Fantastic Four that I didn't get. And then I was like, I'm weak, and I went and I got, I think it was 14 issues, and then they stopped, and then Dan Slott took over. But I got the James Robinson one, and it was 14 issues. And guess what it was about? It was about Heroes Reborn, and I freaking loved it because it was just like they were addressing how bad the character designs were. They were talking about like just what was going on. You know, how did people think that these were us? And you know, it was they addressed all like the concerns. Like this is garbage. This was a garbage era. Look, and one of things pointing at the Rob Liefeld Hawkeye is like, look at this ridiculous costume. They thought this was Hawkeye. It was kind of funny. The problems can't be addressed. The society activists masquerading as writers is the problem. I'm just right, but I'm assuming that we could flush them all out and get you, Brian, you know, myself, Dave Brink, you know, to you know, just kick them all out, like just come in like Vikings, just pick them up, throw them out windows, and then just pillage and take the place over and start all over again, you know. And I would be like Jim Stewart. No, we have to address it. We have to address, and I don't like that Eye of Agamotto or the Cosmic Cube just changes things. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but that's just me. I mean, if you get there first with your raid, Viking raid, you be my guest. Do what you want. But I'm too anal retentive. If it happened, it happened. I'll go from this point. The books were taken over by Insane. Yep. Now they've been removed. All the stories. Piss poor friend. Yep. I agree. I would say take advantage of the multiple. Say Marvel 1996 was some sort of wacky SJ, and then pick up a Marvel. I already told you what I would do. The Mad Ball. The Mad Ball was affecting everybody's minds. The Mad Ball. Mad Ball Marvel. Mad Ball Marvel. Read the 70 around this time in Captain America. The Mad Ball. I think it was Hydra or AIM. They made these bombs. Mad bombs. I keep saying Mad Ball. Mad bombs. The Mad bombs were these bombs that were making everybody crazy. And there was 3 of them, and each one was more and more powerful. Well, we're going to find out that there was a 4th one, and the 4th one affected the entire world. And all of a sudden, they're just like, they deactivate the Mad Bomb, and everybody's like, the X-Men are like, are we bad guys? And Cyclops and Iceman was like, was I gay? You know, and Spider-Man was just like, looks at Mary Jane, and Mary Jane looks at him and it's like, who's this? And they both look at this Paul guy and punch him and run. You know what I mean? And then they spend a year or so just like undoing all of the problems that were like, and going after whoever, you know, made this Mad Bomb that caused them all to go. That's how I would fix it. I agree. Oh my God. As much as me and Logic clash sometimes, this, even more than Brie Larson's breasts, this I agree with. Brian Michael Bendis, patient 0 for everything woke at Marvel. Jim Lee's patient 0 for the bad writing and throwing away of canon at Marvel. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I hate the multiverse. It's the laziest. Yes. Again, this Brian Michael Bendis and my hatred for the both. Again, in Heroic Tales, there's a multiverse, but each universe is distinct as its own laws of physics, because I borrow from Dungeons & Dragons. There's chaos and there's law, and where they intersect, that is the universe. So at any universe is closer to chaos and closer to law. So chaos would be the breakdown of physics and magic, and then, you know, closer to law would be less magic, less randomness, and more predictable and more physics. So they can't, because no 2 universes occupy that same astral real estate. So they have to be different. And if they're different, there cannot be another Logic's Finest. There's only one Logic's Finest in the entire multiverse. If somebody shows up claiming to be the Patriarch it is a trick. There is not another. If the patriarch dies, there's not going to be a multiverse to bail him out. I know I can't abide by the garbage post. I can't abide by anything that addresses it. Doing so will only legitimize the filth. This, I forget who it was, but they just made a policy of like not addressing stories that they didn't like. I mean, there is precedent for just ignoring it. Bring back the OG Marvel. The current employees are wrecking the brain. I'm of the opinion that it's like let it die. You know how they say like an alcoholic has to hit rock bottom. Has Marvel hit rock bottom? Like I still, I think like New York City with this new communist Muslim. Like I want this guy to get elected. I destroy New York. Oh my God, just destroy it. Show everybody. Give him enough rope. Show everybody this is what you want. This is what you get. Everybody flees. It becomes Snake Plissken. The Duke of New York. He's #1. Takes over. It just becomes that. But the federal government can't bail it out. It's like no. F around, find out. You are now in the find out stage, and then maybe New York will come around. Like it hasn't happened to Detroit yet. It's not happening to California, but everybody's always like, well, the reason why communism succeeds because all these Republicans are messing with it. No, here you go. Here's everything you wanted, but do not take. But Trump and the federal government just like there you go, you got it. And that's the and then pass a law that you can't leave, because Jimmy Palmiotti flees nice Democratic diverse New York to go to nice Republican Florida and then complains about we need million. Well, you left. I always say to people, it doesn't matter what your mouth says, I listen to your ass. And I said that to Jimmy Palmiotti. I said your ass lives in a red state. So I'm ignoring your mouth and I'm listening to your ass. And your ass sleeps in a nice Republican state. You fled what you're preaching. DC did that with the 52, which is still garbage. I know. No one flees. You trap them. I agree. I have X-Men 94. This is really good shape. Like I said, this is the only thing. I don't know. If I was to grade this, I would say like an 8, but I'm not a grader. You crapped your bed now. Yeah. You can't leave. Like all of these people leaving California, going to Texas, and then voting Democrat. Dude. So there you go. I got nothing else to say. Vaughn, if you want to send me a link to your stream, we'll go to Vaughn's channel. I'm going to go eat something now. I got up at 6 this morning. I've been up since 6. As you can tell, I'm jittery. I drink like 2 pots of coffee. I got nothing else to say, and it looks like the comments are dwindling down. Multiverses let weak, no talent writers push. Absolutely. And again, I like the multiverse in What If, when it was a rare, cool, one shot, exploit something. And I also like the multiverse in Exiles, because it kind of, that was the premise of the book, but now it's like, okay, we're just gonna get rid of Cyclops. Now we're just gonna have gay Cyclops, for whatever strange reason, and like I really, really, really hate that they time traveled and brought the original X-Men back as kids at the same time as the regular. It's just like, knock it off. It's just a bankrupt idea. John, I hate to drop this on you, but James Gunn's Superman's going to be bad. Well, I have low expectations when it comes to superhero, when it comes to everything, to be honest. When it comes to movies, books, whatever, I set myself low expectations, so I can only be delighted. If it's bad, I'm gonna be like, well, I expected it to be bad. I haven't watched any trailers beyond that first trailer with what he calls Crypto. That was the only trailer I watched, and I stopped watching Fantastic Four trailers. I stopped watching Superman. So I can only be pleased. I can't be displeased because I have managed expectations. You know, at this point, if you don't have managed expectations, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. It's like, dude, how many bad Marvel movies do you need to cry about? Like I'm beyond a party clown. I'm a clown who doesn't go to the party. I'm a non-party clown. I don't even go to the party. I didn't watch Ironheart. Why would I watch Ironheart? I knew it was going to be bad. You know, I'm just not interested. You know, I hate watching it is feeding Marvel and DC. Just cut it like cancer and let it either eat itself, fall away, you know, and find stuff that you do enjoy, you know. Like I'm not going to watch this new Chronicles of Narnia with a female Aslan. Why would I entertain that? You know, you know, gags, slapstick humor, over the top. It's a heavy emotional subplot, makes you forget it's a bad film. Very low expectations for. Yeah, me too. Yep. His bar has been set so low that people. Yeah. Yep. I agree. I hate watching dollar spends the same as a fan dollars. Yep. Yep. Don't. You know, I don't hate watch. The last hate watch I watched was Heroes, the last season of Heroes. Oh my god! Like I was like standing up, pointing at the TV, like just stop, just go to commercial and never come back, and then I would watch the rest of it. You know, like I'm trying to think. I think I'm on the last season of Shield where Coulson's dead, and now a multiverse version of Coulson came back. I'm like, I'm done. I'm done. I'm not watching this crap. I really like Shield until Coulson died. That was the end. You know, Coulson and what's her name, Cavalry, the hot Asian chick. You know, they said goodbye. He died, and that was the end. I'm not watching this season where there's multiverse and then the black gay forensic guy who's just like, oh, look at this. There's spikes growing in this body. I've told you that I'm a homosexual. I'm a homosexual who sleeps. I'm a 60-year-old fat, obese black man, homosexual. Okay, and then these crystals will come out of the body and reverberate at this frequency because I'm a homosexual. That, you know, it's like, what the f am I watching? Why would I want to watch that? So, you know, I'm done. I'd like to see a Marvel fan film. Oh wow, a really dude, Kazar fighting dinosaurs. Marvel, Kazar fighting dinosaurs. Why didn't anybody think of this before? There you go, Marvel. Kazar fighting dinosaurs. $1 billion. You got Kazar. You get who could play Kazar? Matthew McConaughey. The guy from Reacher. The guy from Reacher. And then you, oh my god, and then you get what's her name? Shanna. You get Sydney Sweeney as Shauna, so she's in a furry bikini. He's running around in a loincloth, and they're fighting freaking dinosaurs with the saber-tooth tiger. There you go, Marvel. There you go. And you can have space aliens. You can have the X-Men show up later. Oh my god. There we go, Apex, me and you. You don't even need to write a script. People complain but spend money. I agree. Shiny object, that's, yep. Like the Rings of Power. I think I watched 15 minutes of the first episode and I was like, I'm done. Sabu, the saber-toothed tiger. Yeah. Oh my god. Savage Land movie. What are you waiting for, Marvel? You know, they think, oh my, because you could have monsters in it. You can have, oh my god. What are you doing, Marvel? Jeez, come on. Now I'm like mad. I want to see that movie. And Blade could be hanging out there. You could do anything. It's the freak. And you could have the Kree. You could have Ronan the Accuser show up, and next thing you know, the Guardians of the Galaxy crash there. Oh my god! What the f are you thinking about? Black Panther goes in to get more vibranium. Female Silver Surfer and a cuck Mr. Fantastic. Twink Johnny Storm. I knew the Fantastic. You know when I knew the Fantastic Four was going to be bad? I kept my mouth shut when they cast Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm. Right then and there, I said this is gonna be bad. Even more than Pedro Pascal. She looks like that British OnlyFans sleeps with 1,000 people in a night girl, Bonnie Blue. She she's not attractive. You know, she's she's got a body and everything like that, but she's not. The Invisible Woman is the ultimate mother. You know what I mean? She's a leader when needs to be, but she's a mom. She's nurturing. She's not this sharp angled girl boss. You know, I just knew right when they cast her. I said this is going to be bad. And then Pedro Pascal bothered me. And as much as I like that actor in Stranger Things, he played what's his name, the metal guy. He's not Johnny Storm. I saw a commercial that of them selling some whatever, and he just looked whiny and gay. He just looked whiny and gay. Gen Z Superman looks silly, useless, snark dialogue. Superman is supposed to be old-fashioned Boy Scout adult. Christopher Reeve was excellent as Superman. He was an adult. You took him seriously. He had a career. He had a job. He had the big shoulders, but he also had that smile. You know what I mean? Like he had like a playfulness behind his eyes. The what's his name? I can't think of his name. Brandon Routh. That was just like a pale imitation of Christopher Reeve. Like they didn't give him a chance to be his own guy. Henry Cavill, I still think he would have been perfect, and I think he would have had that je ne sais quoi that you need to be Superman, like a tough, old-fashioned dad that would still play catch, and make a goofy joke. You know what I mean? A little corny, but you like them. That's what you need to be Superman. I agree with you, Logic. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. Goldmine of a movie, Kazar and the Hidden Lands to eliminate the multiverse. There you go. That's definitely not our Johnny Storm. I agree, and it's a shame because I really liked him in Stranger Things. He stole the movie or the show. So, but gee, Kazar in the Savage Land movie, Sydney Sweeney in a fur bikini. Wow, what else do you need? Freaking getting attacked by giant snakes, freaking dinosaurs. Everybody loves dinosaurs. Blow away Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park meets superheroes. Oh my God. You know what I mean? And Fantastic Four, they ship like the Fantastic Four, their ship goes up. It's set in the 60s. It writes itself. You don't need a multiverse. It's 1962. They go into space. They encounter Galactus, or they go to the moon. The Red Ghost, that's, for 15 minutes, they fight the Red Ghost to get the power, whatever. And then while they're in space, they're like, they see the Watcher, and this Watcher is just like, he's coming, Galactus. Then they go off to deal with Galactus, but they fly at relativistic speeds. They defeat Galactus. And I know this a lot for a first movie. And then they come back to Earth, and it's 2025 because they were flying so fast. But they crashed in Latvia, and now Dr. Doom. It writes itself. It writes itself. So they were the first. Captain America was the first, and then they were the big team. Maybe people didn't know about them because it was a secret mission. You know what I mean? And then they come back, fight Dr. Doom. They crash land. It's like crash landing in North Korea. They fight Dr. Doom, and then they get back in the ship, and they need to fix the ship. They go to Savage Land to get fight. Dude, what are you doing, Marvel? What are you doing? Logic. Well, the leakers said months ago, girl boss Sue is the leader. I know. Reed is a weak cuck. Johnny is a twink. Yeah, people keep saying, I want it to be good. It's why would I want it to be bad? I want it to be good. I just don't think it's going to be. Sydney Sweeney as Sheena, great cast. Absolutely. Sydney Sweeney gets hate mail from feminists because she leans into a sex appeal. They hate everything that straight men like. Yep. Yeah, she could be Power Girl. She could be Power Girl in DC, and she could also be Sheena in Marvel. She's got two. There's room for two things about Sydney Sweeney, right? And the thing sounds like Garfield. Yeah. They did all forecasting is off. I mean, the guy playing Ben Grimm, all right, but to you put a voice modulator on him. He could be whatever, but now he's Ben Grimm. You got to put voice modulator on, and he's got the gravelly voice. He looks good, the way the thing looks. He looks good, but I don't know. It just seems off. It doesn't seem right. It hasn't, like, I just feel like a battered ex-girlfriend. Maybe the next time will be good. There's never going to be a good Fantastic Four movie. You know, it's going to be bad. Why do you keep saying you want it to be good? Why not? What? I want it to be good. I want it to be good. I want this cup of coffee to be good. I want this comic book to be good. Why do I want things to be bad? I want it to be good. I know it's going to be bad, but I want it to be good. I don't see how that's a problem. I think it's a normal thing to want things to be good. I want world peace. I want the world to be good, but I know the world is bad. So I should be rooting for the destruction of the world because there's no world peace. When Obama was president, I wanted him to do the right thing. I wanted him to be a good president, but he wasn't. You throw your hands in disgust and root for the destruction of things. I want it to be good. I want things to be good. It's not you, John. It's the mindset. Okay. Yeah. Yes. I know it's going to be bad. I know it's going to be bad, but I want it to be good. I guess I misunderstood. 157, 158. So 2 minutes. We'll close down in 2 minutes. Yes, I want the world to be prosperous and peaceful. The only time I'm rooting for something bad is I kind of want this mayor to get put in. I want New York to be to be. I want there to be bodies in the street. You want this? That's my villain arc right now. Leave New York like it. As I'm walking, you just see the fires behind me. You know what I mean? But the problem is, I'll get into a fight in the subway and I'll get arrested defending myself. So, be careful what you wish for. All right. Thanks a lot, everybody. I hope everybody had a good 4th of July weekend. I'm going to eat some food, and then I got 2 scripts I need to be working on today. And the more I talk, the less time I will do, because I know me, I'll get distracted easily. Logic, I want a good film, but I know Marvel will make bail. Yeah. Yeah. Well, people still want good things. It's normal to want good things. When I want people to be rescued from this flood in Texas. You know what I mean? I want all of those little girls to be found safe, and you know what I mean? That's what I want. I know it's not going to happen, but that's what I want. I want dinner tonight to be delicious. Yep. All right. At that point, good night, everybody. I'll see you Wednesdays the next time I'm scheduled to stream. All right. See you, everybody. Bye-bye.